Gets open for three. Dagger!
The kick in, here it comes. Swing and a miss! And a World Series Game 7 winning Curly W is in the books.
Washington Capitals are the 2018 Stanley Cup champions. You like that? You like that? I like that.
You gotta like that, right?
My approval ratings keep going up.
Sorry to keep you waiting. Complicated business.
Welcome into Defeating the Curse. My name is Joe on mic 1. FP is on mic 2. We might see Stevie, we might see Razzle, and we might see Pete. And I gotta say, Pete hasn't been on the show since we were doing Game of Thrones recap. So when he reached out today and said, "Holy smokes, I just saw what you posted on Twitter. You got to get me on the show. And by the way, I want to talk LeBron." I said, "Sure, let's do it." We haven't put together a show in a couple of weeks here, FP, and this happens every year. We come out of the Super Bowl and we're like, "Hey, we're going to create a ton of content during, the off season and all this stuff." And everybody just takes a deep breath and is like, "We've been covering football twice a week for half the year. Like, we're tired. We got other things going on. Half the world is at war, not to make light of it. There's other things happening. Like, we got families, we got other responsibilities. Today, is the first really, really nice weather day. I think the dial touched 80, if I'm not mistaken, today. I think it was really close to it, if it didn't. So, I gotta be honest, I got excited. When the chat started to blow up a little bit, and we there was some action on Twitter, and everybody started talking about the curse. Could this be the end of the curse? You're the one that initially shared that artifact in our little WhatsApp chat, and I posted it on the Twitter, and the internet ran with it. I think we got to start there. I mean, listen, not much has changed if you're Dan Snyder in the last, 2.5 months since 2-2 came and went with the you tell him what the name is, and we I don't want to live all that stuff. Commanders is the name. Fine, no problem. I shared my conspiracy theory, and frankly, I think it's picking up steam now. And I think for those that don't know, what I think is going to happen, I'll share that in a second. But FP, let's talk about that smoking gun. I mean, that's the closest thing that we have, or that we've seen, ever really, to show that Dan was legitimately, or I don't want to say Dan, that the organization was legitimately padding their numbers, not profit sharing the way they're supposed to. And to me, it's either one of two things. Everybody's doing it and nobody cares, or this is a big freaking deal. If those are the only two options, where do you fall on this?
I think both options are true, but Dan Snyder and the Commanders are the only team in the NFL under House Oversight Committee scrutiny, with multiple different hearings and allegations and rumors and everything swirling about them. So the microscope is on them, right? So all these people that are like, well, if you're going to look into Dan and all those emails and all their books, you should look into all the other owners. Dan's the only one dumb enough to get caught. Dan's the only one where there's millions of emails with traffic showing all of the stupid decisions, the illegal decisions being made. I mean, if you looked at the artifact, all the CC names are they're blacked out, right? They're redacted. So you don't even know if Dan was on those emails. My guess is yes, although according to Tanya, he doesn't have an email address, but this is Commanders 101. This is,
I don't know if he would have been on the emails, right? Like, why would the owner of the team be involved in ticket sales, or I don't know. I don't know if he would legitimately be on it.
Maybe not on an email, but on an email group. Oh yeah. Well, then so that's the whole thing, right? So the House Oversight Committee is saying this guy Friedman testified, said there's two sets of books, one that the NFL and the auditors get, one that Snyder gets, and everything that all the padded numbers are dubbed juice, which I find hilarious, right? The juice, hilarious nickname.
It's the sauce, baby.
And it's just, it makes perfect sense that Snyder would have like a true book and like a BS book and show everybody the BS book. If anything, just to save face and be like, no, we're doing great. Or I don't know. I don't know the reason behind it, but how do you think about it logically. How do you, as an auditor or an investigator or anybody, know what you're looking at is the whole picture or not? If there truly is a second book somewhere with all the real numbers, how do you get you? There's no way to get that unless you get it. I mean, you need like a search
Well,
warrant.
somebody
Like
has to
what?
give it to you. Somebody has to, no, I mean, even then,
Yeah,
like you can hide it.
exactly,
You can hide it, right? And
exactly.
these emails, somebody has to come forward and say, shenanigans, look here, right?
Right.
Or funny business, look here. Something unsavory, look over there. And that's what's happened here. Now, it hasn't caught traction. I mean, we keep coming back to this every couple of months. There's something that comes out and it's like, this is it. This could be the one that puts, Dan out of business, that the league is going to have to do something. But I do feel like this could be the one where 24 votes come out and say, we can't have this anymore. We can't. Like, the only way to remove Dan today is the vote of the other owners. You need 24 votes to remove him.
Right.
Now, the Washingtons, whatever name they have, haven't been one of the more profitable teams in a long time. FedEx is well documented to be a dump. We don't need to talk any more about it than that. Just leave it there. Once upon a time when Dan purchased the team, I think it was the 4th or 5th most valuable entity. And it might still be, but most of that value is tied up in a building that is decrepit and falling apart that just happens to be in a highly desirable area, being Metro DC, technically.
Yeah.
The rebrand,
and your contract with the TV rights.
Sure, but everyone has that. But
Right.
if there was ever going to be something that pisses off the other owners enough, besides, I mean, think about how bad it has to be, or how crazy the whole thing has to be, that there are sexual allegations against an organization, but that's not enough, right? And honestly, I think the narrative will change here. And I think public narrative in particular, the blue check mark brigade, cancel culture, like they didn't take any of the allegations silently, but this is just more fuel to the fire, because now you're talking about, now it's the, Anheuser-Busch dropped them. Why did they drop them? Like, what beer and what company doesn't want to be affiliated with an NFL team? Does that make any sense?
Yeah. No, it
Does
makes
that make
zero
any
sense.
sense at all? Like,
It's free money.
There is something bigger or larger at play here. And I think we're seeing little by little the veil come down, and companies are distant. None of this is new. What's new is now that there is proof that they literally were padding the numbers. And like you said, there is now substantiated proof that there is at least shenanigans with 2 sets of ticket prices. And frankly, if you go back, look at the Twitter thread, and I didn't put much around context. I posted an image of the document with the redactions, and I just put a comment saying, if this could be it, like this could be the end of the DC curse, specifically Dan Snyder as the owner, if people pay attention to what's actually happening here. This is a big deal. I mean, FP, I don't see how the NFL can just look the other way, because now it's a one team issue impacting the entirety of the league. And really, I think Steve has maintained this. The owners won't take out one of their own, because to some extent they're all guilty of, to varying degrees, of some of this unsavory nonsense. Okay, whether it's
right,
Kaepernick being blackmailed or blackballed and to be kept out of the league, the sexual misconduct allegations. Like, there's no perfect, clean, squeaky organization. It doesn't exist. But this is a big deal, and their pocketbooks are impacted here, and it's by a team that is padding numbers to make money off of the limited sales that they have to begin with.
Right.
Like, this isn't the Packers, padding numbers on a sold out stadium forever. This is not that situation, right? I mean, just look a couple years ago, you had was it La Famina that came in and basically pulled that veil down and said, "Hey, guess what? There's no wait list. If you want tickets, you can be a season ticket holder today."
I'm happy you brought up his name, because everybody was kind of shocked when he came in and 6 months later he's fired. And he was supposed to be like the guy that gets the business side corrected, the guy that gets everything kind of churning out money, doing everything correctly. And for a while there, Nobody complained about Lafemina from a fan standpoint, from a media standpoint. He came in, said what he was going to do, but I think the problem was, I think he was ruffling too many feathers on the inner circle, and they're like, it's dangerous to keep this guy here.
Yeah,
He got axed.
doesn't that justify this even further? Like, hey, this guy came in, called shenanigans, again, lifted the curtain,
Get rid of him quick.
Yeah, like this guy came in here, and within 6 months, there's no demand for tickets, or the false narrative of there's a wait list or we'll get on the season ticket list is gone. You can get tickets. We got to increase prices, right? Because now the few that we're selling, like people aren't. The demand is gone. Like the allure of, like, and it's just like the whole thing. When you take a step back and start looking at it more holistically, there's definitely something here, man. Like this, there's a lot of smoke here. Like there's a fire.
Well, we're not even hitting on the headline that came out last week, where you have 6 attorney generals from different states sending the letter to the NFL after the Brian Flores thing, after the Commanders thing, after all the stuff that's happening to the Shield. You now have the judiciary branch of the government saying, hey, shenanigans, we need to look at what's happening at the NFL. So right now, because of Snyder, essentially, you have the legislative branch. I mean, you're a history buff. You have the legislative branch and the judiciary branch kind of zeroing in on the NFL and the Shield, which has never happened before. And you can truly get actual lawsuits. You can truly get actual, like, requests for documentation. All that stuff can now come, and it's substantiated. Every day that goes by, the request for information, all that stuff is just becoming more and more substantiated.
Yeah, it's getting louder.
It's getting harder to hide.
Well, yeah, and my personal theory on this, like, and I've maintained this and I stand by it. I think Dan is going to be put in a position where he's going to be asked to move the team to London. I know. I mean, it sounds crazy. Everything sounds crazy, right? But once upon a time, changing the Redskins name sounded crazy. And then accepting the football team sounded crazy. And then watching this mass exodus of, basically, a-holes that were, sexually assaulting women just leave the building with very little ramifications actually to them. Like there was no personal.
Nothing happened.
Nothing happened. They just got to them. Exactly. That sounded crazy. And now, like, I know it sounds outlandish, but couldn't the owners come back and say, listen, you can't continue to operate the team in DC. Like the fans don't want you. The city doesn't want you. The city's not going to grant you a new stadium in DC. Virginia might give you money, but like, if you want to keep the team, you're going to move it. You need to move it to London. And DC basically.
I agree with moving it, not London. London would be a massive market. And I don't think they want to entrust that to Snyder. But hold on, Dan is getting another team.
Dan gets to go overseas and be the hero that moves a team to London. He'll be embraced by the Brits for bringing football there. He gets his new stadium. He'll play in Wembley, like the national stadium in London. Like it actually fixes all. And from the owner's perspective, it changes the narrative. Like DC will forever hate him. This point was made on local radio here in DC. When the Ravens came to town, right, from Cleveland, like the owner at the time in Cleveland was already hated. The second Modell brought the team to Baltimore, savior status immediately. Can't say a negative word about him. Baltimore, like all of the bad was erased, and within a couple of years,
but that was bad based off football. Bad. That wasn't bad based on Snyder bad.
Oh, I don't disagree.
It's 2022. I'm just saying the blue check brigade and the cancel culture.
You couldn't see your boy Jerry Jones in a room and Bob Kraft saying, "Hey, listen, you're going to take one for all of us. Move this team to London. Stay in the NFC East. It's annoying for Dallas, but the other teams will be okay." Having an NFC East team in London makes the most sense because New York is a huge media market. The Brits will come to New York to watch their team, the Commanders, play. They'll go to Philly and Dallas. Like they'll go to Texas. Like it works. And frankly, the New Yorkers would go to. I mean, it's a 6-hour flight. Like you can make it. You can make it work. That's all I'm saying.
It makes sense. 100%.
Frankly, the stupid name fits better in London. And this is
It
the whole
does.
premise.
With
Like
with a Cockney accent, somehow it works better.
listen. James Bond, like who's like the unofficial hero / mascot of the Brits. Okay, like 007, right? He's a commander in Her Majesty's Secret Service. Like Dan, there's no way Dan thought of that 3 years ago. That like all of this fits together now. But if you were ever going to have a team in London, Commanders is actually the perfect name for it. Like it actually, the London Commanders is okay. It's way better than the DC Commanders, right? So, yes, DC takes it on the chin, but honestly, find me a diehard fan that would say, I want to keep the team here with Dan attached to it, versus move it and we'll take our shot as an expansion team in the future, or maybe the Jags come to DC. Like Florida's got too many teams anyway. Maybe you bring the Jaguars here and DC becomes an AFC team. Like you can do it. I'm just saying, like
I will say this.
No,
I think the entire fan base now, sure, there's people that love the name. Sure, there's still the diehards. I think the entire fan base from right now is kind of so disconnected from this team, from their own memories, that if there's ever a time to do this change up, now is the time. Because
it could even be temporary, right?
It could even be temporary. Pill to swallow right now.
Why couldn't the NFL announce that after the 2026 season, when the FedEx lease is up, because there's no new state, like realistically, FP, if they're going to move the team to Virginia or to Maryland or whatever, the only option that affords them enough time to continue to play here locally would be to retrofit FedEx. Like that's it. Like if you were going to build a stadium in DC, it would have had to have started by now. If you were going to build something in Virginia, it would have had to have started by now. Like you can't do it at this junction and be ready for the 2026 or 2027 season. So why couldn't the league come out and say, after the 2026 season, the Washington Commanders are going to be playing in London for the next 5 years? Just not forever, but they're going to be the London Commanders for 5 years until Dan figures out a stadium deal in DC. Could that not happen?
Add a 33rd team.
You could, but I think they have. I don't think they would want to disturb the balance that they have around the league. I think you look around and you say, hey, Jacksonville, do they really need a team? Like you've already got Tampa, you've already got Miami. Like, do you need another team? Maybe not. Maybe not. Like Cincinnati obviously had this great run. They're not going to move. But could you move another team potentially? Is there another team with could you move Arizona?
I mean, yeah.
You could. You could.
There's a couple markets where it's weaker. I mean, nothing would be better than
even the Titans. Look at the Titans or the Panthers. Look at the Titans and the Panthers. Like the Titans less probably, but you could definitely move the Panthers to DC, right? Or move them to Richmond.
Ron Rivera's been trying to do that all free agency.
Yeah, well, we'll get to Rivera here in a second, but I mean, I'm just saying if the league was looking for creative options that keep Dan at the helm, but punish him in air quotes, like this is a way to do it where seemingly everybody wins, and even the fans in DC honestly win as well. The question keeps getting put up as a poll like every couple of days. Would you take a Super Bowl? Like, would you accept a Super Bowl victory if Dan is attached to it? Like, is Dan the first person that gets to touch the trophy? Like, do we really can we do that? Like, if by some miracle they bring home a Super Bowl championship, I mean, who's going to cheer for Dan to be the guy that touches that trophy and hands it to whoever? Like, the optics are so bad. They're so bad. Like, he's so
awkward. He's so awkward behind the camera. Like I would cringe. I'm just cringing thinking about him.
That's what I'm saying.
Standing up on that stage.
You've got to separate this guy from the city at this point. You just have to. There's no two ways about it. Like,
so what you're saying is the team goes to London and we as DC residents just sit here without a team. We're loyal to nothing for 5 years.
Or we're
just loyal to Red Zone, to football.
Well, I mean, they were going to move the Jacksonville Jaguars to London. We're just sending a different owner, or we're sending a different team. Just shuffle it around a different way.
Right, but then, so you're saying a two-part move. You're saying Commanders to London, Jaguars to us. But what if it's just Commanders to London and we're just stuck empty?
Honestly, like right here as we sit here in the middle of April 2022, I think I'd be okay. I'd watch the team from afar the way I do now. I mean, I wouldn't like I mean, but I wouldn't have to constantly, like, our lives wouldn't revolve around Dan and allegations of misconduct and stealing tickets. Like,
Yeah,
I don't want to do any of that.
I just need him
we're
gone.
so
I
far
think the
removed from
NFL
team
needs
not-
him gone.
Okay,
London and
but-
all that. The NFL just needs him gone. I mean, it's
But if other owners are guilty of the same thing that he's doing to a lesser degree, they're not going to like Dan. I don't believe the league owners would vote him out because I think he's been around too long. And there's, just like we saw with Gruden, there's emails from everybody talking about.
I mean,
everything.
listen,
It's
it all
too much to
comes
everybody.
it all comes down to optics and politics, right? So if you calm everyone down by serving Dan up on a dish, and you're like, here, he is our sacrificial lamb. Go ahead, destroy him. He's gone. He's out of the league. If you do that one move, and then let's say after elections, when the right takes over instead of the left, which everyone's anticipating, all of a sudden the House Oversight Committee is not going to care anymore. All of a sudden the judiciary branch isn't going to care as much anymore, because that's just kind of what they're sitting there complaining about. They're saying, why is the House Oversight Committee doing this in the first place? There's so much other stuff to be looking at, which is a justified battle cry for the right. But if you have one sacrificial lamb in Snyder, all the fans, the media, the checkmark brigade, everybody swallows that, and then politics play, and then the right is in charge. That, to the NFL's bottom line, to their point of view, is like, hey, we lose nothing. Owners are safe. The shield is safe. Everybody's safe. If that's the course that plays out. And for the longevity of the NFL, I think that's what they want. For the marketing, for the FCC rights and regulations and all the kickbacks that they get, I think they all want that to play out more.
Yeah,
to go back to the smoking gun of being this
what is the negative? Like, what is the actual negative here? Like, DC as a fan base is diminished. You and I know, like, we all acknowledge this and know this, right? Anyone that's affiliated with this show will say the same thing. Like, our fandom has been negatively impacted by Snyder and this ownership group and the constant missteps, whether it's front office, or administrative staff, whatever. Like, there's been so many missteps, FP. So
yeah, nobody cares about the team anymore. It's
right. It used to be appointment television, and now it's not. Right. So the fan base is dwindling. Right. And it was even present in the Commanders when the rebranding, and we're going to send all these starter jackets everywhere. Like, I didn't get one. Did you get one? Like,
no.
the fans, some fans got some stuff, right? But they went on this whole thing. They sent all the talking heads on TV jackets. Like, do you think that's going to change? Like what world do you live in where sending, Stephen A. Smith a starter jacket, a Commander starter jacket is gonna buy you like favor or good media? Like, it doesn't work that way, And this whole idea of we're rebranding as a global brand and citing, the super soccer teams, whether it's Madrid or Barcelona or whatever, like, these are international brands. Yeah, no shit, they're international brands because they win, right? And they're full of international players. Like, it screams of somebody who's like under 21 years old writing talking points. Like, it just, like, there's no connection to what they're saying.
Can we just talk about how hilarious it is that Washington Post in particular has essentially a stockpile full of articles that they can just drop at a moment's notice, and they wait for every time the Commanders have headline news. So today you have Jason Wright, Ron Rivera, Julie Donaldson. They're all on Big 100. They're like, hey, we dropped ESPN 980 and 106.7. We now belong to iHeartRadio. That's a huge thing to the smaller market to like the media and to the fan base. It's a huge thing, right? Like, you get HD radio quality games streamed every week instead of turning on the AM dial. And Washington Post is like, hold on, here's some stuff for you.
Oh, by the way. Yeah. Oh, by the way. Yeah. You've been stealing from the rest of the league. Oh, by the way.
We're in an amazing cycle. It'll never end. and to put a bow on this entire Snyder conversation, because there's more stuff to discuss, he'll call it an accounting issue. Friedman will probably get fired and maybe, Epstein or something. I don't know. And then we'll move on. Snyder will be safe.
Listen, man, don't wish death upon anybody. I don't want anybody to die over this, man. But like, yeah,
I'm not wishing it. I'm just saying.
Yeah, okay. I mean, yeah. Look, frankly, I mean, the team was in the news over the weekend too. I mean, I think we need to pause here for at least a moment and talk about, rest in peace, Dwayne Haskins. Like, that's just it's a terrible story. I mean, honestly, like, I feel like we need to talk about the Schefter thing too. I mean, he was just all kinds of wrong, but he apologized and like it was a douchey move and he apologized, and I think everyone needs to move on from it. But we're talking about a 24-year-old that, lost his life. Like, it just sucks, man. Like, and like we got to interact with him a little bit, behind the scenes here. Like, we never interviewed him, but we got to be around him a little bit. He was a really, really happy dude. And, it seemed
always
like he
smiling.
was always smiling and really focused on trying to improve. Yeah, he did some funny things. He's a 20-year-old kid, but
24 FP. If the cameras are always on me, I'd be 100 times worse than Haskins.
Yeah, I mean, if we were in that spot, you wouldn't go take
with a couple mil. Yeah,
fans. Yeah, of course you would. You would do almost everything. Maybe even worse. But
way worse.
That story when it broke on Saturday morning was just like it was gut wrenching. I couldn't believe it. Like,
honestly, it took me back to kind of the same emotion as the Sean Taylor passing, because it was just so sudden, so freakish, so out of the blue. I mean, look, Dwayne's he wasn't part of the team anymore. He went to the Steelers, and I mean, almost every week when like the Steelers would come up, I would always text like LP, be like, I kind of want to see Haskins on the field. I want to see what he can do. I kind of want to see how like a stable franchise can pull the talent out of him.
Did he actually have it? That's right.
Yeah. And I truly believe he could. I mean, his arm was insane, right? Like, he had a rocket. We were all bullish on him when he got drafted. Nobody was like, oh, this was a terrible move. Nobody thought that. Even if you think, if you say you said that, you didn't. You're lying to everybody.
We were all excited. There was potential there.
It sucks. Like, it just sucks. And it's almost like when you bring up like the curse, you're like, if he was still on this team and that happened, it would make more sense. But it's almost like he left the team. He went to where this stuff doesn't happen. Like, this isn't a Pittsburgh Steelers type of story. And it just kind of blows your mind.
It's just bad all around. I mean, 24 years old. I don't know. I mean, honestly, I hope that the media doesn't report any further on it. Like, it was an accident.
They leave it, yeah.
You just leave it there, right? Like, I don't know. I don't want to know why or who or what they were doing. I don't want to know anything further than what I know, which is, when we all go through driver's ed, like, if your car breaks down on the highway, you don't get out of the car. Like, this
that's the crazy part. Like, he was 20. He hadn't even been driving for 10 years. Like, that's how young he was. It's insane.
Yeah. But he's also just got married and family. Like I said, I don't want any more details to come out. Like, I don't want to hear about.
Give the family their peace and condolences, and it sucks.
Yeah. I mean, for us, like, honestly, as fans who didn't know him beyond the little interaction we had with him, it's sad to say, but like, life resumes. And he'll be, he'll be remembered. And yes, he was drafted by the team. Like, there'll be things that remind us of him. But for his wife and his family, and like this is a hole that doesn't get filled ever.
Yeah.
I don't need to hear anything further about who, what, when, why. It doesn't matter. Like, his life, even and again, like, Shefty's comments were not appropriate. This is a larger than football. Like, it sucks. It just all around just bad. But but I mean, like I said, the Commanders, I mean, they're they were brought up over the weekend, because with their connection, obviously, with Haskins, and like, I don't know, FP, like, I just feel like all of a sudden there's a lot of things happening here. I know Stevie and Matt are actually I think they're gonna be recording tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken, or later this week. They're gonna be doing like a full like Nats season preview thing. They got a couple things in the works, but even there, like, there was some rumors about potential Snyder once upon a time making a bid to the Lerners trying to sneak into the Nats ownership group, and then that was quickly debunked. And today, Stevie was sharing some stuff internally with us about basically underscoring what was, again, it was on local media this morning that Ted Leonsis there's been some conversations about potentially an ownership stake, majority ownership stake in the Nationals. Like
which I think would be fantastic for him. Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's done really well with hockey, and basketball. We'll see. We'll see. We're not doing great.
The basketball is hard because the players have essentially took over.
They have all the power. They have all the power.
So baseball and hockey, I mean,
that's an interesting point. Like contracts in the NBA mean the least out of any of the sports.
Yes.
Like in basketball, in the NBA, you can, with a no trade clause or even without it, you can just say, I'm not playing anymore and just sit. Or I don't feel like, you don't even have an injury. I'm not going to play. Right? Like I love John Wall. There's no reason why he shouldn't be playing at all.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I agree with why he's not playing, but yeah.
But he's getting paid to sit. He's getting paid to sit.
Also, insider alert, John Wall is in DC right now. Hint, hint, wink, wink.
You can't. I mean, I saw the trade rumor. You can't trade for him, but if he's cut, you can definitely sign him for sure.
I'm just saying,
bring him home.
Bring him home. Bring
the team can't be worse.
I would love.
The team can't be worse with him. There's no way. There's no way.
No.
Yeah. What do you lose? Nothing.
You honestly, the fan base probably.
You need it for
multiplies exponentially. If you get me John Wall in a Cherry Blossom City Connect Wizards uniform on court.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, dude. I mean, the National City Connect is way better than the Wizards one.
Wizards look like Pepto-Bismol. I'd go see a Wiz game that's got Kuzma and Beal and Wall and
it could be a dangerous team.
Sure. Oh, well. Yeah. Listen,
it could
once they put on the Wiz uniform, like any threat of success goes away. So let's not pretend and fool ourselves. But it would make the product more watchable. It'd make it more interesting.
It'll make our shows would be better if we get to complain about John Wall and Beal not playing defense.
That's true. And why not? Why not? I mean, if they can get him for nothing, if they can sign him as a free agent, I'd pitch in $10. Let's bring him back in.
Yeah,
get all the fans to pitch in a little bit. Venmo. At Teddy Leonsis or whatever, and let's get it done. Let's bring him here. But Teddy being linked to the baseball team, Stevie said it best. If that is true and it happens, Soto gets signed. He's going to sign the biggest deal ever for the rest of his life. He's a Nat for life. Like there's no way.
And Teddy's a loyalist, so he'll get the OV treatment.
Well, and he's going to have to protect his investment. If he's going to pony up
for sure,
however many hundreds of millions of dollars or whatever to buy a stake in the team, there's no way he can let the best player, arguably in all of baseball, leave. Like he needs him here to get that money back to make a return on his investment. There's no way. Like they'd sign him to $550 for 10 or whatever crazy deal. $600 for 9 or whatever crazy
baseball
number.
Money is so stupid. I'll never understand baseball money.
Yeah, I mean, contracts in baseball are, they're untouchable, and contracts in the NBA mean nothing.
Yes,
and the NFL is closer.
And hockey is such a poor man's sport that, like, hockey players are getting like what kickers are getting in the NFL. Like,
speaking of kickers, your boy Joey Sly got signed.
Yeah,
I don't know how you feel about
that. It's something. Carson Wentz. Nothing, Joey Sly. That's been the Commanders' free agency, and there's a lot of holes to fill. You lose DeAndre Carter. It makes no sense.
Did you see the little post about all the teams that were interested in and pursuing Carson Wentz at the time that the Commanders signed him?
You mean the giant nothing nugget that was?
0 teams had inquired about Carson Wentz. Zippy. Yeah. No, not a single team had made a call. So all of this, again, like this is where for me, Ron Rivera, he doesn't have it, man. Like he doesn't have that thing to be a GM. He went on local radio and on his show and said, we couldn't lose Carson to another team. We had to make it happen. We made a strong offer to make sure we could lock him up. Why? There was no competition.
Look, to
The
play
way
devil's
I
advocate
read
and
it,
defend him.
Hold on, but did the Colts have any did the Colts have any desire to move him at all, or did Washington call and be like, "We'll give you all of this," and they said, "Yeah, sure,
Colts-
okay."
Colts were probably going to cut him.
Well, that's
Which
even
hurts
that's
even
a bigger
more.
problem. Yeah, that's an even bigger
Yeah.
problem.
But I mean,
Yeah.
in Rivera's defense, if you're one of the other 31 teams, are you going to come out after the backlash of us taking Wentz and be like, "Oh man, we wanted him"? No, nobody's going to say that. I will say this is a question I posed to LP. This is a question I post to LP maybe like every 2 days. Knowing what we know about the Baker Mayfield situation and how the Cleveland Browns have no moves to make. They're just stuck with Baker Mayfield and nobody wanting him and money that he's owed. Would you take Baker over Wentz? You would.
I would.
I would not. I would take Wentz.
Because you need a well, I mean, Wentz.
Baker has done nothing with way more than Wentz has ever had.
Baker has done nothing with way more. Wait, Baker has done nothing with. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I mean,
Landry,
you got
OBJ.
Hunt and Chubb, you got
Okay.
Landry, OBJ, you got Myles Garrett and a solid defense. What has he done?
You're right.
He made made the Browns suck.
I've changed my
less.
position. Yeah, I've changed my position. I would take Wentz as well.
Yeah.
Wentz has
And
never
again-
had the caliber of potential receivers. Try to think to that early Philly team.
No,
I mean,
nothing
they-
really. Alshon Jeffrey. Who do you really have?
Didn't he win the Super Bowl?
They did, but because of him, but not because of him.
Who were the receivers on
Regular
that Eagles?
season.
I gotta go back and look it up.
I mean, the Eagles haven't had a real receiver since like T.O.
No, I mean they must have had somebody on that team. I don't know. I'll go back and look. But yeah, I would rather have Wentz. Like just thinking about it and thinking through it. He's also going to be the face of your franchise. You have to. You're rebranding as the Commanders. Like you need somebody that is like safe that can do the kiss the babies and wave to the crowd and
Yeah, I need other pieces. I'm not saying go be the Rams where they get every free agent known to mankind, and I don't know how they're affording Bobby Wagner, and there's reports of Honey Badger, and they got everybody else under the sun, and somehow they have an unlimited cap. But get me something. Do one kind of free agent move before training camp, or at the very least,
who do you want
go
them
ahead
to go
and
sign?
extend Terry. I don't care. Just do something that's not Carson Wentz and kicker.
I
Resign
don't care.
Terry.
Just do something. Just go sign
Resign
someone.
Terry. Why are you not re-signing Terry right now? Tell me. What are we waiting on? Are you waiting for DK Metcalf to get a monster deal, and then all of a sudden Terry's owed more?
Is Terry worth number one money?
Yes.
Is he a top 10 receiver in the league?
Yes. He has done so much with nothing.
He jumps a lot.
Heineke, 1,000-yard season.
Maybe they want to
being
see
the only
maybe they wanna
healthy
see
receiver.
what he can actually do. Like maybe they're
and then
not.
you know what? And then you get sucked into a Brandon Sheriff, Kirk Cousins situation all over again.
You're right.
We can't afford him, and he's gone. Just
So you're
re-sign the
saying
dude
you
now.
do it just for the value proposition. You do it now, and if
It
it
will
doesn't work,
never. It would never be cheaper to wait. It will never
that
be
I agree.
cheaper to wait. So just
Yeah.
knock it out.
why
Give
would
the fan
Terry
base something to
accept
chew
that?
on.
If you were Terry, why would you accept that?
I mean, you're giving him big money. Who says no to big money?
I mean, players that want to win. You can't win here. This team isn't constructed
mean,
to win now or next.
All right,
year.
if you look at it, Terry, right, you are one of the first people to don a Commander's uniform. We've clearly made it obvious that you are one of the faces of the franchise. We brought you the best quarterback you've ever had on this team. The NFC East has gotten significantly easier.
Okay.
There's reasons to stay. They're not great reasons. They're not the Rams reasons. They're not, hey, we just won a Super Bowl. We have Matthew Stafford. We live in LA and our coach is a genius. It's not that stuff, but Not that many people get to say that. Not that many teams get to compete with like the marquee teams with why to come.
Do you
Why
think
to
this is
stay.
Ron's last year?
Yes. If
Do
you
throw
don't
out year one, this is where I'm torn on him. Do you throw out year one with the name change controversy, the corona, the blah, 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 even though they made the playoffs? Like, I feel like some people would say you've got to keep it, like, it should be counted because they made the playoffs, even though losing record. I feel like I throw it out either way. I don't even look at it because it was such an anomaly of a season. Like, new team, new city, no name, no fans, corona everywhere. I feel like you have to throw away the first season, which basically means you're looking at just the last two. So making this his third season, I think if you don't make the playoffs this year, I think you're done. I think he has to be done.
I'll put it this way. If you're looking at just last year, there was a lot of head scratching decisions made by Ron that cost you games that could have made life easier, right?
Yes.
So there's a lot of head scratching moves not made by Ron.
Yeah.
There's just outside
Randall
of 4
FBI
quarters
raid.
every Sunday. Yeah, it's just there's been so much not happening under the Ron regime.
Just too many Carolina players. It's too much.
Again, yeah.
There's no control in place. No one can be like, hey, Ron, maybe that's 1 or 3 or 5 too many players.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, and then you have like the draft is in 2 weeks, right? We're probably going to go get like Olave, another Ohio State receiver. Great. I love it. But like you already have 3 receivers that run sub 4.4. Do you need a 4th? Is there not a more important position? I want Olave. I love it. But give me some kind of interesting move. Give me a trade back. Give me something that brings.
I don't think he has.
Just show me that you have football knowledge outside of. I judge people off their character.
Saw the extent of Rivera's wheeling and dealing with the Carson deal. I think they got they tried to. I mean, listen,
best you get from Ron was the
whole charade of we're talking to every team about their QB availability. That's stupid. That's stupid. And even if you're going to do it quietly. Don't come out in the media and say we called to inquire about Mahomes and about this person and about that person. This is nonsense. That like I can't take that person seriously. Like why would you call Kansas City or whoever? Why would you call Buffalo about the availability of Josh Allen? Like why would you do that? You look like a joke. That's foolishness. You know, it just is.
I don't know.
Well, whatever. But then, you know, you're in the Russell Wilson sweepstakes for like 2 seconds, but you never really were involved. And they will pretend like it was, you know, Seattle not wanting to trade him in the NFC, but there's no way he would want to come here. Just like Aaron Rodgers would never want to come here. Tom Brady's never going to come here. Like there's nothing to come here for. Although Tom Brady going to Miami has been it's really interesting to read those stories.
So he was going to fake retire, get offered ownership, high level, and then be a quarterback and try to lure in Sean Payton. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes, he was gonna become a minority owner and then sign himself to play quarterback and sign a coach.
Sean Payton was what I heard.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
But Miami in particular, very fascinating, right?
What's more amazing is essentially Bill Belichick is the one that blew everything up by sending the text to Flores.
Well, BB also exactly. Yes, he messed everything up. Yeah, exactly. BB not texting the wrong Brian caused some problems. Yes, but Flores, I think where he landed in was it Pittsburgh? I think he landed in Pittsburgh.
Yep, Pittsburgh.
Assistant to the assistant head coach or something like that. Like it's
he's
honorary
Dwight Schruting it. You know,
I mean, but he deserves another head post.
He does. I mean, honestly, if you get rid of Ron, I'd
let's go bring him in. Yeah, why not? Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, DC happenings all around. Leonsis obviously being connected with the Nats. We'll let the boys talk about the baseball stuff. I mean, there's a lot going on there. But you're here. I got to pick your brain about the Caps here. Caps
do it.
look like a little bit streaky. They look like they're gonna make a little
They're-
bit of
they're-
a run.
They're on a good streak, right? So they're the number 2 wild card.
Here is
Right now-
here is my drive-by analysis of the Caps. They remind me of like the old guys in the gym at like a sport club, like a Lifetime Fitness or
Mhm. like
One
a
Life
gym,
or
gym,
whatever.
like a Golds.
Yeah, like they're the squad of like 5 older guys that are muscling their way through pickup basketball games, but winning. They're not losing, but you can
More
tell
or
it's
less,
taking a toll.
yeah.
Like they're just kind of there's a lot of muscle memory. There's a lot of gamesmanship. There's a lot of veteran IQ type play right now to make up for diminished skill. That's what I see when I watch.
We'll put it this way, right? And this is kind of the story that happens every postseason with some other veteran team, regardless of the sport. They had 2 big embarrassing losses against the Hurricanes and the Wild. Super embarrassing, blow up the team bad. The veterans have the players only meeting that you hear about once a year from whatever sport on whatever team, whatever. And
That's the one where they tell
sat
the
down.
stars to come.
Yes, that's or if you're the Vikings, you have it on a boat. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean
yeah,
it's
okay.
players only meeting.
Players only. Got
But
it.
essentially it worked, right? So the veterans did what the veterans needed to do. They kind of cleaned up their game and they're like, we won't make it far in the playoffs if we don't figure it out now. We can't flip the switch game 2 of wild card round 1. We need to flip the switch now. And they essentially did that. They beat the Tampa Bay Lightning, they beat the Pittsburgh Penguins, and they beat the Boston Bruins. 3 Eastern Conference teams right ahead of them in the standings, and they did what they needed to do. And they still have good. I mean, they were thrashing the Flyers when we started this 5-1. They're doing what they need to do to get the wins. And the goal at hand is not to face the Florida Panthers, the 1 seed on the East, right away. That's your ultimate goal. They're doing what they have to do. They're playing great hockey right now. Oshie came back. Power play looks great. The score differential has increased. Ovi's a monster. He's still having like an insane season. He hit his 40-point goals. I mean, or 40-goal season, whatever. The team's great. The team is great. The goalkeeping is the big if. And I mean, that's the biggest concern. And if you look back to the Stanley Cup run before Holtby and before that playoff run started, Holtby was shaky. We switched to Grubauer. Grubauer started the first 2 games. Then we went to Holtby and history was made. We're kind of on that path right now. So it'll be fun. Look, it's the best time of the year. You have NBA playoffs, Caps playoffs. It's great.
Yeah. I mean, is John Carlson getting enough credit right now for his play?
He had some great games. I think he had like a 4-point game like 3 games ago or something. He's doing fantastic.
I think he was a player of the week. I think last week,
Yeah.
wasn't he? Was he one of the 3 stars of the week?
Yeah, again, I want to say it was against the Lightning. He had a 4-point game, 2 goals in the power play, something crazy like that. I mean, and that's kind of what you're seeing is like all these veteran players, even your defensemen, they're playing up ice. They're playing better. They're playing more aggressive. They're essentially doing what Laviolette has wanted them to do this whole time, and they cleaned it up. A lot of the passing and everything has gotten cleaned up. Your only question mark is goalkeeping, and even that has kind of gotten cleaned up. It's very exciting because the Caps are the only team in DC that are like playoff time, check mark. The Caps will be there, and then they have the personnel to at any given moment go deep.
How do you feel about the sucker punch against the Pens?
Oh man, Crosby's a giant B. He should be suspended 5 games, but that won't. If Tom Wilson did that, Tom Wilson would have been suspended 5 games easily.
He'd be banned for life.
Easily.
Yeah.
But Crosby, Crosby, every time he does something, they're like, there's no previous record. It's because every time he does something, they say there's no previous
nothing.
record. They never charge him.
There's no history because you haven't
Yeah.
allowed there to be history.
It's
from-
infuriating.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, correct. Yeah, listen, I agree with you. Like this part of the hockey season is super interesting. Obviously, the Wizards stink. The NBA at like overall kind of stinks also at the moment. We didn't get PD in here. We'll try to sneak him in here maybe by the end of the week or so. But we probably need an entire show dedicated to LeBron, just LeBron, and this constant the same. I mean, the tired soundbite of he's the greatest ever, blah blah blah. No, he can't be the greatest ever when he sits out games at the end of the season when the playoffs are on the line for a fake injury. When he's at risk of missing the playoffs, playing with 4 other almost Hall of Famers. That's not okay. Can't have it. Can't have it. So, yeah, I mean, we got to get LP on that one. I want to get Pete on that one as well because, there was a great. I think I saw it. It was online somewhere earlier today. Like young LeBron, it took 4 NBA All-Stars to stop. Like four Hall of Famers in the Celtics,
Right?
To get past young LeBron, and old LeBron won't even suit up for a team that's loaded with talent on paper that's going to miss the playoffs. It's shocking.
And
he torpedoed the Lakers, and he's going to sign.
The joy that I had that the Lakers missed the playoffs. It was just. I loved to see it.
But he'll claim that one championship meant everything, right? Than the Kobe year.
It was a bubble championship.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think that deserves the biggest asterisk of all, personally.
Yeah, it meant nothing.
Oh, I mean, it didn't mean nothing, but it's not the same.
It's
not the same. I think he's gonna go back to Cleveland. I really do. I think he's gonna go back there and try to, he'll ruin that team for even though they've got to. Who knows, man. I mean, he's how many seasons now? This is his 19th, I think, or 18th.
I mean, he's old. He's an old head for sure.
Yeah. I mean, his body of work speaks for itself. I mean, he's amazing. Like he should be in every conversation. Hall of Fame, yes, 100%. Amongst the greatest ever, yes. You want to do top 10, sure. Top 5, probably.
Have you been watching Winning Time on HBO?
I started it.
The Lakers show.
I got sucked into 1883 really hard. Like 1883 is like. Have you checked it out yet?
No, I was watching Super Pumped before the show about Uber. That's a good show too. Joseph
Did you watch the Tinder Swindler?
Yes,
that's a documentary that everyone should check out. It's fascinating, also. But no, I mean, I fell really hard into the 1883 thing. Like when you watch Winning Time, where it's supposed to be called Showtime, but HBO is not going to have a show called that. When you watch like Kareem and Magic and like that early, is that why they
80s,
rebranded it?
Yeah, because the book was called Showtime, and HBO's like, we're not making a show called Showtime, so it's called Winning Time.
Okay,
yeah, but when you watch Magic and Kareem and that early 80s Lakers dynasty, and then you see bitch LeBron sitting on the bench, it's like he. Like up
you don't have to
until
go back.
LeBron,
you don't have to go back to the Showtime Lakers. You can just go back half a generation to the bad Kobe Lakers.
5 years ago.
Kobe played
not even half a generation.
He played 78 games for a 19-win team.
Yeah.
Like he took a page out of the Michael Jordan book. Like if you paid to see me play, I'm gonna play.
Yes.
LeBron goes out of his way not to play.
Everybody hated the Lakers for a different reason than they currently hate the Lakers. And LeBron is that pivot right there.
But what's consistently been the story for LeBron is the trail of tears he leaves in every city when he moves, right? The initial Cleveland team that he left for Miami, that team was bloated with salary. Antoine Jameson and Shaquille O'Neal and whoever, and Zydrunas, Ilgaut, like they were Anderson, was it Anderson Varejao, I think? Like they had so much crazy overpaid players on that team, and then he bolted to Miami. Miami ended up with just a ton of overpaid players when he went back to Cleveland, and then Cleveland ended up back in the lottery back to back years when he went to LA, and now LA is way over the cap. They've traded all their young players away. Julius Randle is gone. Caldwell Pope is here in DC. Kuzma's here in DC. Like everyone's out. D'Angelo's gone, so they'll be left with nothing, and he'll go back now.
And
whoever
a coach
signs
that
him
got
next
fired
has to
via
understand.
tweet.
Yeah, thanks, coach. With a picture from 2 years ago. Yeah, but seriously, like if you're an NBA executive, like, do you want LeBron coming to town knowing that he's going to dictate everything? And I mean, do you need to sell tickets, or do you want to win? Or do you
like if LeBron was suiting up and putting butts in seats and actually putting on a show for your fan base, maybe he's worth it. But if he's going to go from market to market and bloat the team and create your trail of tears that you said, and then not even suit up,
yeah,
why?
Yeah.
Like why?
Like there's going to be some stupid Wizards fans that are like, sign him, take whatever, like pay whatever you got to pay and get him over here, right? But like, I don't want LeBron James in DC. No, thank you. No. Anyway, we could talk about LeBron later. I think I covered all my talking points for the show. Do you have anything else you want to get into?
No, I
Anything
think I'm
interesting
good.
happening? No, nothing.
My life's a boring life.
Wow.
I like it that way.
Yeah, I mean, okay, could be worse, right?
Yeah.
think-
I am excited to actually go to some Nationals games, good or bad. It's a great place to meet women.
It's also a great place to take your kids. I know you don't have any kids, but my kids enjoy going to the ballpark and getting a hot dog and ice cream all over themselves and whatever.
Yeah.
And it'll yeah, I mean, I'm glad baseball's back. We had warm weather here in DC, like that's a good thing. Like hopefully this is the end of the second winter or the third winter or fall, summer or whatever it was. Like hopefully we're on the path here to warm weather. Okay. I mean, look, we'll see what happens. I think the lead story was the biggest one. Obviously, if there was ever like the position we have maintained, I think now for several weeks, if there was ever going to be an off season where Dan Snyder has the team taken from him or is forced to sell, it's got to be this one.
It's
Like,
the
if it doesn't
closest
happen
it's
now-
ever been.
Yeah, if they can't get it over the finish line now, it's never going to happen. Like if he
100% agree.
survives this, also, is it's game
Like
over.
I
So,
need whatever editor-in-chief, chief editor, whatever you're called at Washington Post. If you don't get through this offseason ousting Snyder, no more stories.
yeah,
Give
where's
it up.
John Feinstein? Where's our guy Feinstein Books? I'm gonna tweet at him. Like
No idea.
this is the last great accomplishment we need from him, right? Is to help remove Dan Snyder. But anyway, FP, thanks for making time. Thank you as always. It's been
Always a
nice to fire
pleasure.
up the mics and get back into the DTC way. Hopefully, more of these coming in the coming days and weeks. For those that are celebrating Easter upcoming here, happy Easter all around. My name is Joe. This show is called Defeating the Curse. We talk about DC sports through and through, plus a little bit of pop culture and other DC happenings because we're not idiots. And occasionally we talk food as well, although it's been a while since we've done a food draft or anything interesting like that, or interesting to us anyway. So maybe we'll bring back some of that shtick, as they call it in the industry. But yeah, my name is Joe. His name is FP on mic 2. Thanks, FP, for making time. DTC, Defeating the Curse. You can find the show on all social media platforms. You can stream it on pretty much any podcasting platform that's out there, whether it's Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon. You can tell Alexa to play Defeating the Curse and we'll pop right up and you can hear us in your kitchen or in your shower or wherever you consume your podcasts. Thanks for hanging out with us. You can tweet the show at Defeat the Curse. You can email us at defeatthecurse or defeatingthecurse@gmail.com. Thank you to the Contender Network for continuing to hang with us and supporting our show as well. We appreciate it. Until next time, we are